Call our meeting back to order. And going to our general fund, our building facilities. David Palmer, how you doing, sir?
Good. Commissioners, member of the committee.
This is tab 4, committee members.
So just a little background, facilities provides maintenance for the Justice and Courthouse Building Complex, Kenny Mill Justice Court, Reedsport Annex, Lighthouse Museum, Douglas County Museum, Oregon State Police Office, Dent, Search and Rescue EM Building, and we support other departments with building maintenance, custodial, procurement, and contracting on all kinds of different projects they might have going on. So that's a little bit of background of what we do, pretty quick. So as far as our FTEs go, we did cut a 0.4 FTE. That FTE was originally for custodial over in the Reedsport Annex. Since then, we've partnered with Sunrise Enterprise to do all of our remote locations. Because for us, it was not only could we not find anyone to even apply for the position over there, it was just, it's so remote and just having them do it. They had someone there that was working part-time for them that could pick up and get that person to full-time doing that. So just kind of a partnership over there. Since then, we've had them do some of the other buildings like Dent and some of the other ones that would, you know, we'd have to get a van and a whole bunch of equipment. And this is just actually kind of just a sideways move. It doesn't cost us any more, any less. It's pretty much just a good partnership to have with Sunrise. So of course, our personnel services only went up by 5%. That's pretty much just a cost of living minus the 0.4. Our material and services is up 95,000. So materials and services, as far as our just operational, we tried to flatline those as much as we could. If you dive a little deeper in, that 95,000 is 110 of it is for a new roof over in Reedsport. It's been leaking for years. We've been trying to figure out what to do to get it to stop, and it just doesn't. So we're going to do a completely different roof design, not really that much different, a PVC roof, and wrap it so that it can't leak. So it'll be good for several years to come. And of course, if you look at the capital outlay, that's where the big number is. And that's the 2.5 million. That's for new chillers for the courthouse complex, which is Justice Building and Courthouse. That's our cooling for the whole building. So our chillers, let me get this number right here. We got those in 1975. So they are really old. The refrigerant that's in them, they haven't produced that since 1996. So if we were to lose the refrigerant today, we would have to go out and try and find reclaimed refrigerant, which we don't even know what we're getting. I mean, it's just, we've limped them along. We're just trying to make it through this summer without any incidents. And then hopefully with your guys' approval, we can get those changed out next year. The one thing that's really important about that for us is that we have to keep the jail cooling going on the weekends. It's 24/7, right? And these chillers, we can barely keep them going on the weekends. They shut off and we get an alert, and then we have to figure out who's going to come in and start them back up if they will start. And it's been a real hassle. So anyhow, so I'm hoping that we get this approved this year, and next year it'll be back in line, not another $2.5 million project. So, you have any questions?
Questions?
The new one's gonna last 50 years?
I hope so.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Well, we'll hold you to it.
If I'm still here in 50 years.
I guess these are gonna cost more than the ones in 75 did.
They're quite a bit more. The good thing is that they give us a lot of flexibility too. So it's just like everything else. They're just so updated. We can ramp them down, ramp them up. And we have one that's larger, one that's smaller. The smaller one can run on the weekends and just maintain the jail. And hopefully that makes it a little easier on the maintenance staff. So they have a little bit more freedom on the weekends, especially in summer.
And that's the Reedsport?
Oh, that's here.
No,
That's
that's
here.
here.
Oh,
It's our
that's
jail
here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the Reedsport roof.
So the roof over there's a flat roof, right?
Yeah, it's an EPDM rubber.
And you're not gonna change the slope of the roof, you're just gonna use a different
No,
material?
the new PVC roof systems, what they do is where it's different, so the EPDM that wraps up, and EPDM is rubber and it shrinks over the years and it's starting to shrink in the seams and everything else. PVC, we get in a gray, man, it just lasts for a long time, and over there, without the direct, it's not always sunny in Reesport, so it just, I foresee that we'll get 30, 40
Whoever
years
thought
out
to
of
put
it.
a flat roof on a building at the coast in Oregon? Must have been designing that from like Southern California or somewhere sunny.
Probably are.
Doesn't make any sense.
They own the roofing company.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Okay,
Move to tentatively approve the building facilities budget.
Commissioner Boyce made the motion to tentatively approve. Commissioner Kress has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Alrighty. County Council, hi there. We are on tab 6.
So I'm Tiffany Podlesnik, County Council. Paul recently retired, so I'm filling his shoes.
It's the new and improved Paul Myers.
He's still around, so you'll see the biggest change in our budget is there's a decrease in personnel services. So I became County Council, filling his shoes, but he's still working up to 10 hours a week, approximately 2 hours a day. He tries to do that, and that'll be through December as we're thinking to have that. We also have an assistant counsel in the office, and so just from where he was at on the pay scale and then where I'm at versus the assistant counsel, that's where you see some of that decrease. Other than that, our budget's usually pretty boring, I'd say.
You only have 3 lines, 2 lines.
I would tentatively move to approve the budget.
My second.
Commissioner Kress has made the motion and Commissioner Boyce has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. We'll keep you up there for the law library, tab 45.
So this one I think is pretty much the same as last year. We do have a part-time law librarian who's also part-time as one of the legal assistants in my office. She's been in that role a couple years now, does a really great job being the librarian. We do get a pretty good amount of funding from the state. And we also, I think one of our biggest expenditures is our subscriptions, which we like to keep a pretty healthy budget there. I think you guys might have toured the law library recently or went over there, but it's a very nice facility. A lot of good subscriptions there. We have a Westlaw, a computer where patrons can use that. Other lawyers in the community can use it who may not have that program with their office. So it's a good facility that our county has.
One of the nicest areas in the courthouse.
Yes.
A great place for a commissioner office.
If you wanted to be the part-time librarian, we could probably work.
Probably
something
figure that out.
I make a motion to tentatively approve the law library's budget.
Okay, Katie's made the motion, tentatively approve.
I'll second.
Commissioner Boyce has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. That was painless, huh?
First
Thanks,
time.
Tiffany.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Emily. Douglas County Emergency Management, tab 8. Hi there.
Douglas County Emergency Management is a little bit different. It is increasingly in the eye of the general public at the request of the Board of Commissioners. They have prioritized emergency management and response and recovery and preparedness for the county. So that means I'm a little more visible than I used to be, or my department is anyhow. I have an assistant emergency services manager. He just is 6 months in. He has another 6 months to go in his 1-year probation period. He's doing great. Just for anybody listening, if you don't know, emergency management is all hazards, all partners across all the county, and we work in prevention, mitigation, response, recovery, as well as preparedness. So we usually have different programs going at the same time. Just a quick example of why there's two of us. On Friday, my assistant was at a senior services health fair giving resources and outreach, and I was with a rebuilding effort for the COAD, which is Community Organizations Active in Disaster. Saturday, I was in Drain at a community emergency preparedness meeting, and he was helping with an amateur radio test. So just helps us juggle both things at once and kind of double our impact. We are primarily EMPG funded, that's a state grant, and then the county very generously matches that grant. Anything else you want me to say at this point?
I just would remind the budget committee that we have evolved our emergency management department from being a program that was under the sheriff's department to being it's now a full department here at the county. So Emily's a department head, and part of the goal for the commissioners in the county is to build capacity to deal with these once-in-a-lifetime events that we've now had 4 of since Chris and I have joined the board. So each time we find ourselves wishing we had better capacity to deal with emergencies, really when the public needs their government the most. So Emily's job is to build that capacity. Part of that, she just talked about a little bit about, is the outreach in the community and those partnerships and helping other people be more prepared so they're less reliant on county government when emergencies happen. You're doing a great job. I would move to tentatively approve the budget.
Second.
Commissioner Freeman has made the motion and Commissioner Boyce has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much.
We hope we don't need you.
That's a good goal to have.
Get ready.
Alrighty,
We're a little early on for the fair, but
okay,
we've got Salmon Harbor.
okay. Come on up, Jim.
So Salmon Harbor is tab
39.
50,
50.
yeah, tab 50.
Afternoon, Jim Zimmer with Salmon Harbor. Before you is our fiscal year 25 budget in the amount of, budget request in the amount of $5,032,260. We're projecting a revenue of approximately $4,032,260. Majority of that is camping and RV revenue, which is about $2,590,000. Followed by mortgage at about $5,468,800 and fuel sales at $453,000. And with RV license revenue and miscellaneous other income, a transfer in for the coastal event planner, we're looking at a total where I lost myself here. Anyway, a total of $4,332,260 for projected revenue. We're starting with $1 million, so our total resources are $5,032,260. We've had a little bit of an increase in personnel costs over the last couple of years. We've increased our full-time employees to, well, there's 16 of us now. We increased by 2 late this year. And then 1 with the year before with the event planner. Materials and services, the largest expenditure at $2,337,602. And that includes an additional $226,000 for dredging. There's a possibility we might be able to piggyback off a contract that the Coast Guard's gonna do in Winchester Bay. So we just wanna be prepared if that happens. We're requesting a capital outlay of $600,000. $480,000 of this will be to procure 8 new park model cabins that'll be placed in underutilized sites at the resort. It's expected this will boost the occupancy of these sites from 40% to 75% and provide an additional $250,000 in revenue per year. and that'd be about a 2-year return on investment. Other capital items are a new mower at 15,000, used truck at 25,000, mini excavator and equipment trailer for 70,000. And we anticipate ending fiscal year 25 fund balance of 59,548.
I have one recommendation. If you're gonna buy a mini excavator and an equipment trailer, buy a dump trailer. It will double as your excavator mover and give you some added ability to do work.
All right,
I know a guy that has that combination and it works really well for him.
I think I do too.
Maybe a different guy than you know.
Any questions?
Questions, comments?
Just, I'd make one comment on behalf of the organization and Jim. You guys are doing a great job over there. The addition of Jody to that events coordinator position, it's really bigger than that. It's having one person, and I get that she's housed within your budget, but she really works between the museum and your facility and parks on all of the county's coastal assets, but also gives us some capacity to do things like go and advertise our coastal assets and our entire parks department at the sportsman shows this last year, which we've been missing. That's been good. And you are constantly looking at the numbers and how to improve those, and these 8 cabins. We have the few cabins that we have between the Parks Department and your facility at the coast, and utilization rate of those cabins is considerably higher than these particular spaces. So the idea is that you keep coming up with, in order to make improvements to the facility, but also drive revenues, will eventually change the direction of this ending fund balance. And what we've done is made some strategic improvements, spent down the available cash to make those improvements, but that it's gonna start going the other way. So you're doing a great job over there, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
I tentatively move to approve the Sam Harbor budget.
Okay, Commissioner Boyce made the motion. Commissioner Kress has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. We don't have
Some of mine.
Yeah,
we're
we
waiting
could.
for people.
Go down to, let's do tax collection, tab 22.
So the tax collection department, as you all probably know, we collect all the property taxes for the bills we send out in November for the entire county. We bring those in and we distribute those to all of the taxing districts. We do it 4 times. We do it 4 times in November during that month, and then we do it once a month every other month of the year. We have 4 FTE, and our budget is pretty small and relatively unchanged.
You're sent a tax bill every month?
No, we send out 3 times a year.
Okay, that's.
We send out a distribution to the taxing districts once a month. So
Oh,
when we
got
get
you.
money
Okay.
in, then we send it back out.
Okay.
We don't keep very much of that.
Commissioner
So,
Freeman.
so I'll move to tentatively approve the tax collection budget, but I have a couple comments.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Commissioner Freeman moved and Commissioner Kress seconded. And
If I may,
Yes.
so a couple things. One, you talked about taxing districts, so on any given day, depending on what bonds are out and what we're collecting, there's about 125 to 130 taxing districts that you collect the taxes for and distribute money to. Of that 125, if you take Douglas County out of that, who helps pay for that cost? None of them, 0. We bear all that cost for collecting and distributing those dollars. One thing that's sort of interesting, and this is a bigger discussion we can have over the next few years, but there is a funding stream that comes from the state, it's called the CAFA grant, that takes into account the cost of several things here at the county, the assessor's department, tax collection, IT, some other central services, management and finance, and that clerk, that all comes together to make up this request for funding from the state. Historically, we've received that grant and applied 100% of it to the assessor's department. So we may wanna think about developing a formula that distributes that funding proportionally to the grant to each of the departments. It's sort of zero-sum gain, but it would let us know that, where the actual cost of each department is in relative to what the state's helping fund, right? So, when we get to the assessors, you'll see there's a, budgeted $350,000 for this grant. That looks like it's an offset for just her cost to the assessor's office, but really it's supposed to help offset all these other departments. Again, it's a bookkeeping thing, but it may have some value as we move down the path of where we decide to fund and where we decide to cut. So anyway, that's what I had for you.
Anything else? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Operating contingency, tab 23.
This is the operating contingency for the general fund, the amount of $3 million for unanticipated changes to the budget going forward.
Move to approve, tentatively approve.
Commissioner Boyce has made the motion, Commissioner Kress has seconded. Any other discussion?
Just, that's less than 1.5% of our budget, just so everybody's aware.
Right, it doesn't tell us what the actual was before. It just says revised budget, so this
It was
is,
2 million to start last.
okay, that's what I thought. I was just wanting to know, so you didn't use like 900,000 of it last year?
And when we show that we used it, it really means that we moved it from one department to
Right.
another, but that's our mechanism for doing it. We didn't.
I just want people to know that this is
Yeah.
just kind of a dummy number so that you don't have to keep coming back and asking for money all the time, correct?
Right, exactly.
So this is just so you have operating funds to distribute as needed and you're not gonna,
Yeah,
You're
it's
not gonna-
unanticipated
yes,
contingency, yeah.
unanticipated, so you're not necessarily gonna use all that money.
Correct.
So people know it's just there in case you have to have it, okay.
That's
I
correct.
hope not to have to use any of it,
Right.
but with,
I just want that,
yeah,
I just
no,
wanted to clarify
that's a good
that.
point, yeah.
Okay. There is a motion and a second on the table. Any other questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Non-department transfers out. Tab 24.
So this one, kind of like we've been discussing all day, the one that's jumped quite a bit, is the transfer to the public safety fund. That's due to the fact that the public works fund is not able to, transfer as much as they have in the past.
So everybody understands, so like in the public safety fund, historically, the property taxes would make up, equal to what they were, so if it's $13 million, and then we would use the road fund reserves to sort of make up the rest. So what you're seeing here is, we're projected to take in just a little over $13 million in general fund, but in the public safety fund, we're gonna spend 19, that's that difference I was talking about earlier coming out of general fund.
Okay.
I'll move to tentatively approve the non-department transfer out.
Commissioner Freeman has made the motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Boyce has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Huh?
That's why you gotta get rid of it.
Additions to notes receivable. tab 25.
So this is a placeholder, for budgetary purposes in the case, whatever reason the county wishes to lend money to another government agency or nonprofit.
So it's for our county to loan money to,
Yeah.
like Winston-Sutherland's.
So we did this a few years ago with Oakland. They had a loan that was pretty high interest and we were able to loan them money at a substantial savings to them, but much greater than what our investment portfolio was making. So sort of a win for both governments.
Do you have something in mind
No,
for this?
this is
Okay,
a
It's just a placeholder.
So if you don't
I didn't know
have,
if there
if you don't
was
have a
someone
line
else.
item for it and we wanted to use it,
And you gotta do a whole
we
other
have to
budget
bring
hearing.
you all back to get that.
This just sort of opens the
I was
lock.
just curious if you had something in mind, somebody
Nope.
had already asked you for it. Okay,
No anticipated use.
Commissioner Boyce is always looking.
he's always looking.
He's just wheeling and dealing.
He's a willing and dealing. Trying to make us better interest.
You made a few points on it,
There you go.
get it where you can.
There you go.
If interest rates the way they are now, well, there might be opportunity.
Yeah, there might be. I make a motion to tentatively approve.
Katie's made the motion.
Gonna-
Commissioner Kress has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Tab 40, we're County Schools Fund.
So this is the fund that receives certain revenues, one of the largest portion being our SRS funding, which we have included this year. And then there's some other miscellaneous revenues by statute that go into there. And then we pass it through to the number of school districts that we have here, and it seems like there's 15 or 13 or something like that, yeah. We just completed that for this last year, just a week or so ago, so.
This is another one of those things that we do that we don't get paid for that really doesn't have anything to do with us.
So on the US Forest Service Secure Rural School funding,
Yes.
what we receive is what represents the historical 25% we would receive from the Forest Service timber receipts. Of course, the number's much lower than what we used to get when it was timber receipts. However, we're required to give, of that 25%, we're required to give 25% of that to the school districts. And this is the mechanism we do that. And I'll move to approve county school fund.
Commissioner Freeman has made the motion.
A second.
Commissioner Boyce has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Tab 42, Predator Damage Control District.
So this fund is historically where we used to collect fees from the users of this program. State, it had a sunset provision in it, and it sunsetted for the ability to collect those fees and has not been able to be renewed, so that the county has the commissioners have committed to continuing funding this program. We contract with the USDA, APHIS Wildlife Services for animal control services.
So it's just a feed through.
Yeah, so again, in 2015, Commissioner Boyce, myself, and Commissioner Morgan worked with the legislature to pass a bill that allowed these predator control districts to be formed in the state of Oregon. They were designed to be voluntarily entered into. So as a property owner, if you saw value in having predator control services, you could opt in to the program, have a assessment put onto your property taxes that you paid into, and then those dollars help pay for those services you were receiving. Prior to that, the county had just picked up whatever the cost of the program was that wasn't funded by the state or federal government. Quite a few people opted in, they kind of got going and they started generating some revenue. That bill had a sunset on it, and because of some misinformation in the legislature, it wasn't renewed. There was those that thought this predator control district was the entity that actually did the predator control work. That, you know, either educated people, trapped or killed animals. And that last part, the legislature thought that this was the mechanism in which made that occur, so they would not renew the district. The fact is, all the district did was allow those property owners that saw value in this program to pay into it. It didn't change the actual services that were being provided. So the services continue. All the taxpayers of Douglas County pay a portion of that instead of just those landowners that receive benefit from it.
I'm just gonna thank you for your explanation because you probably just spared me from bleeding from biting my tongue.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating.
What
'Cause
about, are they talking about taking it back up or?
we named it the wrong thing.
Yes, it has the wrong title.
If we would have named it a way to tax large landowners, it'd pass all day long.
It just,
It's simply a name problem. I don't know that we ever get it redone.
It's one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen happen in government. You have a group of landowners who are more than willing to assess a tax on themselves, to hire professionals to manage these confrontations between their livestock and predatory animals. And because of the perception by bleeding hearts, we can't get that done. And so now everybody just goes out and has a free-for-all and takes care of the problem themselves, however that may work. So the end result is completely opposite of their desired outcome.
And we're using county general fund to fund the program instead of the property owners being willing to do it. It's pretty frustrating.
Yep.
That being said, I'll move to approve the predator damage control district budget.
I'll second.
Commissioner Freeman's made the motion, Commissioner Voice has seconded. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Dan is in the house here. Let's go up to our county fair board. Come on up, Dan. And we're tab 38. Good afternoon.
good afternoon. Good afternoon, Douglas County Fair Board, Douglas County Budget Committee members and county commissioners. Before you is a 25 Douglas County Fair Board budget of $2,206,794. That budget is up a little bit from previous years. Doesn't look like it because last year we had some capital improvement money in there to do a HVAC project and a roofing project at the Douglas County Fairgrounds, which is very badly needed, and thank you for that also. We do have some things inside the buildings and grounds expenditures. We did put $35,000 in there for carpet for the new, for the CCH building, the community conference hall, which would only cover like the entry and one room, which is Cascade room, kind of the one we use the most, where like chamber luncheons are and things like that. But we wanna eventually get to where we can do the next room the next year, maybe the next room the year after that, just kind of do it in pieces if we can. And get the right carpet and right designs and things like that. Other than that, the labor, we are going up to nine FTEs. We were at 8.8. So this year we're getting up to 9, which is kind of almost pre-COVID levels. So other than that, I'd take any questions if there is any.
Okay.
The personal services,
What's that?
your personal services,
Uh-huh.
that looks like that has gone up a bunch from 2021. What, you have an explanation for the personal
Yeah, it
service?
went from 7 to 9 FTEs.
During COVID, there wasn't anybody out there,
0.2,
Yeah,
Katie.
okay.
yeah, during COVID, we cut way back for COVID, went down to like 3 employees.
You didn't have 6, then it says 6, but
It says 6 here, so.
It
it
says
really wasn't
six.
that way.
That's what was approved, I don't think.
Yeah, that was what was approved in the budget, but in
We didn't pay
reality,
for
we
it.
didn't have anybody, cause it was shuttered.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you looked at, if we had 19, 18 over here, it would be about where we're at now.
So you're adding 0.2 of a personnel.
Just from last year. What we're saying though is the money that was spent on personnel services these years, this wasn't the actual number. These are budgeted people, but we only have 3 people there. So this isn't the budgeted amount, this is the total what we spent. So we budgeted close to the same number, but he didn't have any staff, so that's all we spent
Oh, got you, okay.
during those COVID years.
Mr. Freeman's got the 2018 book there.
Keep going.
Okay. Any other questions?
On your revenues, your income, are you guys going to return to having horses there? I know
Yes.
you are, when is
Yeah.
that gonna happen?
That happens in October, usually October 1st. And it's only gonna be a few, it's gonna be maybe 10, 15 stalls at a premium price.
I don't know about that, what's the story there? The horses?
The horses, we used to rent out horse stalls yearly, monthly rentals. And it just got to where it was just too encumbersome, what we were charging and what it cost for shavings and everything else to get it going. And then having somebody feed horses in the morning, a lot of stables feed their animals in one feeding in the morning or something like that. And
So it's a boarding operation and you guys had people feeding the horses and everybody that were there?
well, we would feed in the morning sometimes. What we did was we hired a barn steward. We had a barn steward, not hired, but it was kind of volunteer basis, but they got a free horse stall. And they're the one that did the feeding, not the staff, not the staff.
Yeah, someone got a stall and they were the ones feeding. There's a need for that in this county because this county doesn't have enough, there's not enough places to have your horse someplace dry where you have a place to ride in the wintertime. We don't have enough of those facilities in this county for the demand for it. And the fairgrounds has always filled that void. And then as of a couple years ago, they stopped doing it, correct? And all those people have been panicked and had no place to ride. No place to keep their horses, they've had to haul back and forth and
Is there not a financial model that makes that work?
There is,
Just gets
well,
too
like I say,
expensive.
we're gonna raise that, up the monthly rental up
Make a
to
pencil?
make to where it pencils out. And and we're just gonna go with like 10 or 15 at first, and then, the thing of it is also like when we have big horse shows, team penning or something like that, have like a 2-day show or roping or something like that. They wanna rent stalls, they wanna, and like they'll rent the whole barn and if there's monthly renters in there and things like that, they can't do that, so it's kind of a double-edged sword there. And what we do is we have A barn and B barn. One's a beef barn during the fair and the other one's a horse barn. And we usually rent B barn out, it's nicer stalls for the horses and that, and then we had across the way, we use A barn for tag stalls. So we can get more horses in the 62 stalls that we have.
Is it as much about having a covered place to ride in the winter as it is?
It's a big benefit for them, And along with their horse stall rental, they get a ride for free in the arenas when they're available.
Gotcha.
And that was another thing that was we were up against too, was, there's so many more shows going on the weekends and things like that, that people rent the facilities for. And then the people that have the horse stall couldn't get their horses out to exercise them and things like that because of the events going on. So that was becoming an issue, and there were just a bunch of things. And of course, you're a landlord and people don't feed their horses or take care of them, you're calling animal control, and you got all kinds of things that go along with that. And so it's just it's a managing process in itself. Now that we're back up on staff and that, it's gonna be a lot easier for us to take care of that kind of thing.
I get it.
Mr. Chair, in 15-16, there was 10 FTE. Moving forward all the way to 1920, there was 8.8, so almost what the proposed budget is. At that time, the budget was 4,728, and so it's really not that much higher with the 9 FTE, so.
Okay.
That's correct.
That was back when we had, you know, the fair manager, operation manager, and room manager, office manager, manager for everything.
Yeah, but you're only 1 FTE less than you were in 2015.
Yeah.
And your cost is only up $140,000 over that period of time.
Well, and yeah, if you look in last year's budget, it's $1.8 million in material and services, but that really isn't that.
Yeah, you can't look at that, that's, yeah.
Cause there's a whole bunch of capital in that,
Yeah, I was just looking at personnel services.
we can't call it
Just look at
capital.
the labor.
So roof and HVAC.
Roof repair in there.
Right.
But nobody'd know that if you didn't look, nowhere in here, government accounting doesn't allow you to point that out. It's a bone of contention.
But we made a point of it here at the committee meeting, so everybody knows.
That's right.
Vast number of people that took the time out of their day to watch the meeting.
Yes. Tony wrote that down.
Okay,
I make a motion to pass the county fair board fund.
Katie's made the motion.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Kress has seconded.
Yeah, if I could just
Yeah.
this could be the last year that you get to present in front of us, is that right? Just want everybody to know that.
Can we vote on
You're
that?
leaving?
Yeah, let's.
You're gonna leave?
He's claiming that he's gonna be done sometime this year, so we're gonna certainly miss him. Fairgrounds, been a long time employee, done a very good job for us. Works, does an awful lot of stuff out there for the amount of FTE we have here, so it's our.
Thank you.
Anyway, just so everybody,
I'll leave it good for you.
you can give some parting shots, harass him
How
a
long have
little
you
bit.
been there?
26 and a half years.
So you were there when
Came for the state fair before that.
you were there when I started doing my motorcycle swap meets out there.
Yeah, I remember those very well.
You've done a good job for us, Dan.
Used to make a lot of money on the beer on those shows.
Just the last one. Just the last ones, the only ones
There's
that
the
alcohol.
last
Yep.
Great,
Okay.
okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, sir,
Thanks,
very
Dan.
much.
The DA is available. I know he's scheduled for tomorrow, but he happens to be here and can present.
I think we could do that, and Tony's here too.
Tony can start, I just.
Yeah, Tony, come on up.
Okay.
We'll do the county forest management, well. And we are tab 39. How you doing this afternoon?
Great.
Good,
Good to see you, committee members and commissioners. Tony Page, Director of the Land Department. Sure you already knew that, but. Who? So most of you are probably familiar with what we do in the land department, but I'll give you a quick jog for your memory there, quick rundown. We handle all aspects of county-owned property, property management. We do real estate appraisals, create deeds, easements, other documents that facilitate the sales and property management. We do county leases, we do right-of-way acquisitions for public works and anything that goes along with that. Forest management, timber sales, contracts, acquisitions and sales of any real property that the county owns or disposes of. Tax foreclosures and surplus lands, and we do auctions for those as well. Then we do a lot of other things, processing boundary line adjustments, land petitions, comprehensive plan amendments, anything that has to do with bettering county-owned lands, so. Looking at our budget here, page 188. We have $1 million for our beginning fund balances. And the total revenues we expect based upon the items that we're going to
receive this year. We anticipate $1,881,457 worth of revenue. Could be more than that. The timber sale, we have is the number one item. That's gonna be approximately $750,000 net. We're looking at possibly having more than one, but that will probably be the minimum that we'll have. We anticipate selling a cluster of lands that we're kind of preparing now, and that will be approximately $730,000 worth of income. We have about $30,000 worth of interest in our accounts. And then our leases that we administer, we anticipate collecting $371,457 for the total of $1,881,457. Personnel services are up a small percentage, but material services and capital outlay are down by approximately 25%. Capital outlay projects that could be undetermined that are potentials for happening would bring us to a balance of expenditures of $2,881,457, which is down about 25% less than last year's anticipated expenditures there. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but do you have any questions on that, or?
When did you value your timber sale?
We
Timber's
valued
pretty
it,
tough to sell right now.
Huh?
Timber's pretty tough to sell right now.
yeah,
They don't even wanna buy it.
well,
I know.
I'm sure we'll try to pick the best time during the year to do it, but we've got two plantations that are ready, that are ripe and ready to go, and we've got the access easements all worked out to get on them, and the reciprocal right of ways, everything's worked out. We're just kind of waiting for the trigger to be pulled by the commissioners to give us the go ahead.
If the market isn't right, we won't pull the trigger,
Right,
right? I mean, that's
Cause you're gonna,
that's the beauty of.
but wait till it's the
till it
highest
comes
for sure.
back up,
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
I just wanna make sure somebody was aware of that and knew how to
Yeah.
watch that. Cause it's pretty low right now.
We just have it all ready, and when
This is the budget.
it's in the budget,
Okay.
and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we punt.
Okay,
right, yeah. We usually have some more income that comes in from these tax foreclosures, cause we get administrative fees from that are pretty good, but there's a legislative change that we're trying to work out right now. We'll hopefully have it done by next year, and then we can start getting revenue from that as well. But, so that's kind of a missing chunk that was here last year that we don't have for this year, so.
I will move to tentatively approve the budget for the county forest management.
I'll second
Okay. Commissioner Freeman has made the motion, Commissioner Boyce has seconded. Any discussion, questions?
We're gonna do the land department at a different time, and I'll talk about Tony then, but he's doing a great job for us.
Okay. Any other comments? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
See ya.
All right, I think
Let's move ahead on mine.
Go ahead and
We're waiting for
keep moving, and Rick will come back here in a minute. So tab 43 is our drug abuse prevention fund.
So this fund is, we receive funding from the state specifically for mental health related drug and alcohol prevention services. This is really a pass-through fund. We contract with ADAPT for those services, so whenever we receive, we pass on to them.
Tentatively approve the drug abuse prevention fund budget.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Boyce has made the motion, Katie has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on to tab 44, our industrial development board, or fund.
So our industrial development fund, one change since last year, we used to have a board that was an advisory board to the commissioners, and that has since been dissolved. And the Board of Commissioners just act as that board now. We anticipate revenues coming into this fund in the amount of about mostly $655,000, which comes from the lottery funds to use for economic development. We got materials and services that are down slightly. Debt service for the joint project on the sewer line out in Sutherland industrial area. And the biggest change is transfer out of 3.2 million to our capital projects fund, where we are currently in the process of putting in a new water and sewer line out at Winchester Bay at the coast, which the first phase should be completed this fiscal year. And then next year, the second phase, which goes up to the lighthouse, should be finished. And this transfer is going to be used to pay for that.
And so it's transferred out of industrial development. Isn't that water thing industrial development? I mean, why is it considered a transfer out?
We're just paying the bill. Transferring the money out of industrial development to pay the bill.
It's kind of an expenditure, I don't know why it's called transfer.
Yeah, I don't, that's
That's a
why,
good
my
question.
point, why is it called transfer out if it's paying
Because-
for something that fits in that
Because we
category?
wanted to get started this year, and we did not have the budget, and we couldn't get the budget approved in here for the last year to get started, so we did it out of our capital projects fund where we did have the funds available,
Transferring it back to there.
so we're
Okay.
transferring it there
Okay,
that way.
Good
Gotcha.
question though.
It's just a mechanism.
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it sounds like it fits here, I don't understand why it's transfer out.
It would have been had we started in next fiscal year, but we wanted to get started right
It's
away.
that shell game he plants and.
Okay, gotcha,
And when you can get contractors to start, you want them to start.
right.
Okay. Good question.
The team has arrived.
Motion second.
Did we get a motion in a second?
We did not get a motion
I
or a
move to
second.
tentatively approve the industrial development fund.
I'll make a second.
Okay, Commissioner Boyce has made the motion, Katie has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. We will now bring Mr. District Attorney up.
Tab
That'll be
7.
Day 2, it's tab 7, yeah.
Come on up.
Mr. Chair.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Thank you for taking me out of order.
Absolutely.
So, I am critically aware of the posture that the county is in, and so beyond appreciative of the always incredible support for public safety from this committee and from our commissioners. And we have been in the process, we're currently budgeted for 11 lawyer positions. And we have been functioning with 5, in addition to myself. We also have a senior deputy DA who is retired and has been helping back as she can. We have recently been able to hire 3 new positions, or fill 3 positions with folks literally just out of law school. And but it has been the only way that we have tried it, we have been down lawyers, I was gonna say months, but it's actually been years, and the only reason that we have been able to have any success at filling those vacancies that we have now filled is frankly sort of the unwavering support from the county commissioners and the unwavering support from Mr. Kurtz and Mr. Wilson, and it has been quite journey. The DDAs that we have that you know work for me but work for you have just been incredibly diligent, and whenever you know they just pick up more and more. Because we know how critical, we know how critical public safety is to our community, and we know frankly how imperative it is to this committee and to our commissioners. And so this is a I believe the status quo budget is the technical term, and you know what we have had and continue to have vacancies, and we've been very fortunate with our legal staff, that has been more stable. We recently were able to, we had a vacancy on our legal staff, and we were able to acquire someone who is unfortunately her position was ending at the county, and so in the assessor's office, and so we were able to offer her employment with us, so she'll be able to remain with the county. And so looking forward, as I'm sure you heard from the sheriff this morning, public safety is getting more and more complex and ever more and more challenging because of edicts that we continue to receive from up north, and yet we are. I am proud to say, but it's not a me accomplishment. It's frankly a we accomplishment. I'm proud to say that our office continues to be a full service office. We will prosecute every type of crime that comes to us, and so and that is frankly thanks to you all. So I don't know what questions you have of me.
Commissioner Chris?
Just a quick question, Rick.
Yeah.
In your, do you have any idea in your 22-23 year, how many, you were budgeted for 24 folks, how many you think were actually there?
I was gonna say 19.
19.
Yeah.
19.
Just
4 to 6 vacancies over the last few years.
Yeah, so, and I make that point, cause I knew that, so if you say there was 5 down, and so you had 19, and you're comparing that actual to today's budgeted of 24, which is full staff, but you're not gonna, right? So when you look at personal services, that increase though, the actual budget didn't have those people in it.
And we talked about doing a vacancy credit here, didn't we?
We did do that. We even added a vacancy credit because just historically we've had those vacancies. And
So does everybody understand, we had a few of those in the sheriff's department too, and that is not funding those positions. We talked in the budget message about cutting 15 positions, but there's 4 more vacancy credits, 1 in Rick's budget and 3 in the sheriff's office, so it's really not funding 19 positions this year. And both the sheriff's department and Rick's department historically DA's department has taken quite a while to hire people, so we feel like we can manage that. But they have the position authority to recruit and hire, so they don't have to, they don't have to adjust for that if they end up somehow getting fully staffed. We'll figure that out at the end.
Juvenile department will
Juvenile
see that
too.
as
Okay.
well, so
Yeah, so more than
not only
19.
cut FTE, but we've done the vacancy credits to not fund another 10 or so.
All right, so that's, I just wanted to make sure the budget committee was aware of that. And the other thing you all should be aware of is that Rick has found himself back in the courtroom prosecuting cases on a pretty regular basis, which I think he enjoys, but he finds himself spending a lot of weekends here preparing or doing his administrative work when it, allows him to be in the courtroom. That can't go on forever.
Are you training these new
Yeah, so
fresh graduates to be able to do?
yeah, but it's a process, and so, you know, this is my chief deputy, Allison Eichman, you know, she bears just an incredible load. I mean, when it, you know, comes to, you know, murder cases, you know, huge cases, it's she and I, and you know, I signed up, you know, this is great. And to Commissioner Kress's point, you know, I am critically aware of where we are, and, you know, I work hand in hand with my liaison and with Mr. Wilson to make sure that we're being mindful of our budget and staying within the.
Well, don't get me wrong, I was pointing out the fact that that's why the personal services is budgeted so much more than it was just 2 years ago.
Sure.
With the same FTE, because you didn't really have them.
Right. So.
So I will move to tentatively approve the district attorney's budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Freeman's made the motion, Commissioner Kress has seconded. Any other discussion or questions?
Just the fact that public safety is a continuum, and without the services that the district attorney office provides, the whole system stops. So a lot of times people think of public safety as the 911 call or the deputy showing up. But the fact is, without all the components of the continuum, justice is not provided. And Rick's office and the DA's office works hard at that every single day, and I appreciate it.
I would add that, Rick, you always come in here with such high praise that literally makes me feel uncomfortable. And what we do is prioritize public safety. That's what we do. And you happen to be a part of that, and your team also. I'm grateful that you recognize the work that we do and that we do prioritize public safety. But the work that you do is much harder than the work that we do. And we're grateful for you and your team. You guys have an all-star staff. You carry the workload of many more bodies than you have, and we're grateful. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. And my praise is sincere and right back at you.
I know.
I know a lot of the people in the community are frustrated with all the theft and the rampant drugs and stuff, but they're always like, they just get their hands slapped and get turned right back out on the street. So I appreciate anything you can do to lock those people up and keep them off the streets.
That'd be the judicial branch.
I know.
And
And the
But people think
legislative.
it's
And
him.
legislature.
I know, legislature, people think it's you, I constantly have to remind them.
I understood, and you know, it is beyond maddening to watch what happens in Salem and watch what comes out of the legislature. You know, and you know, the legislature's taking control away from the sheriff as to who stays in jail. And they've given that now over to the judicial branch. And you know, and some of the appellate court decisions that we get now are, you know, the appellate courts are staffed with appointees from Governor Brown. And, you know, her legacy's living on. She's out of office, but her legacy's living on. And yeah, it's crazy making, and I'm very well
Look at the
aware.
ballot, there's nobody running for those positions,
Well, and
unopposed.
I know, that's a huge issue, for another day.
the state judicial department has a release officer assigned to our jails, what he's talking about, that literally, you know, the law enforcement will arrest, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 30 to 50 people, and on Monday, 60 get let out.
Yeah.
It's just the most bizarre thing you can imagine.
No input from us.
Yeah.
No input from the sheriff. You know, it's and I'm very well aware that yeah, you know, yes, me and the sheriff get lots of credit for such things, and you know, it is what it is.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for implementing what has now become the short arm of the law.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you all
sir,
very
very
much.
much. Appreciate it. Okay. We are now at Title III Fund, tab 46. A few more to go here for the day.
So this is our Title III fund, with anticipated expenditures for approved Title III projects for the upcoming fiscal year. Including the Scott Adams pointed out, the 4.9 million transfer into the Public Works Fund for the bridge replacement projects. This, the revenue shown is not only revenue that we anticipate coming in, but also revenue that's been deferred from prior years that we've collected previously.
We'll move to approve the Title III Fund budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Freeman has made the motion, Katie has seconded. Any other
Choose to
discussion?
spare you the long drawn out history of Title III. I'll just be quiet. Take more than 3 hours. I got a whole
Okay.
book on it.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Capital Projects Fund, tab 49.
As mentioned when we were discussing the Industrial Development Fund, there's a transfer in of 3.2 million to reimburse it for the water and sewer line project at the coast. And then we have money in materials and services and capital outlay for board approved projects.
Seems like we're repeating some of these same things over and over and over again, in
Kinda-
one budget after the other. Can we, is there a way to condense it, or is legislature say we have to do this same stuff over?
Each fund has to have its own budget.
Some would believe we need to add more information into the budget.
I'm just like, I feel like we're kind of just repeating ourselves. It's like we already approved that.
There are certain funds that are similar in nature, there's no doubt.
I will move to approve the Capital Projects Fund budget.
Commissioner Freeman has made the motion, Commissioner Boyce has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. And the last one of the day, Employee Benefit Trust Fund, tab 57.
So the Employee Benefit Trust Fund, or EBT as we call it, this is a fund that accounts for all the employee benefits and other insurance related activities for the county.
This one we're bankrupting, right?
You're bankrupting it?
You listen to Chris's friends.
We are, the county is self-insured for a number of programs. One, our liability insurance and for unemployment. And in the past, workers' comp has been self-insured as well. We are making a move from that to a regular insurance company as it pencils out more beneficial to the county. So, but those premiums will still be paid out of this fund. This fund is funded 100% for interdepartmental charges. So all the other departments pay into this fund, and then the money goes out for benefits and insurance.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Employee Benefit Trust Fund.
Katie's made the motion to tentatively approve. Commissioner Kress has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. And with that, if we don't have anything else,
Nobody else for tomorrow wants to come in, that
Wait,
today?
you wanna pop up a couple? Try to get the clerk to come up and maybe radio and IT.
fine with me if we wanna.
Nancy's out of town today.
Okay, forget that.
I'm happy to see if there's anybody, but
I was planning on being here longer than this, so.
See if Dan wants to come up, I'll call Dan. We're here, so.
About Joshua.
Yeah.
I'll call Dan and somebody else call Joshua.
I'll call.
How busy are you right now? You wanna come up and get your budget done?
Town. So, not a lot of change here at all. Personnel services is relatively flat and, you know, overall, we're pretty much the same as we were last year. We've budgeted to, as if this, the court will have enough revenues to fund that. Although, as you can see, the trend in revenues is trended down, and we've had a hard time getting people cited into that court, and revenues haven't been, they're lower this year than we anticipated, so that number's in there, there may be some general fund support.
I have a question about that. Who decides what court you go to? When you're at the coast riding on the dunes and they write you a ticket, it makes you go to Canyonville, and you're over at Reedsport.
Yeah, so,
I
let me
wanna
explain,
get-
you want to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so law enforcement has discretion. So for a variety of reasons, law enforcement decides which court to cite to. Some of that is their convenience, some of that is where they think they can get the fair court hearing or get justice served. So there's some years ago, we had 4 of these justice courts, and the one in Drain had a hard time getting anybody to cite into it, largely because they didn't feel like they got a fair shake there, law enforcement did. So they choose courts that they think will adjudicate the ticket correctly.
And so the police officer gets to
The
decide
actual law enforcement has that discretion of which court to cite into.
I wasn't aware of
Yeah,
that.
we spent quite a bit of time as we were realigning our courts to figure out how best to realign them based upon that. And at the time, there was a different judge over at Reedsport, and that was not the issue that it is today, so. But part of the problem is state police doesn't have the amount of troopers they normally have that work the area over there. Part of it's Commissioner Boyce doesn't drive over there quite as much.
You're not getting as many speeding tickets?
But it's really, it's hard to predict the revenue when you're dependent on cites. You know, the law enforcement to cite the ticket and cite it into that court.
There's no state troopers in the air.
Gotcha.
Fly over there, land at Lakeside, get a ride.
Gotcha.
Heather's here if you want, or Dan.
Well, we need to move to
Yeah.
approve this.
Yeah.
Tentatively approve this budget.
Okay,
Second that?
so Commissioner Kress has made the motion, Commissioner Freeman has seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. We can,
So you might check to see which, I mean, Dan's right in the middle of elections, so might see which ones has time.
I'll work with whatever schedule you want, if you're prepared, please.
Heather, come on up then. We have 21. Good afternoon.
Howdy, how you doing?
Good.
Heather Koffel, Douglas County Assessor. In Oregon, property taxes help support police, fire protection, education, and other public services. Oregon property tax system represents one of the most important resources for revenue for local governments. The assessor's office not only values properties to generate revenues, but we also administer and implement many property tax programs such as low-income housing and farm forest special assessment. Our senior deferral and veterans exemption programs help our most vulnerable populations. Property taxes provides 25% of the revenues for the general fund for the county. For the city of Roseburg, that number is 18% of their general fund. For the city of Canyonville, it is approximately 26% of their general fund. For many of the 119 districts within Douglas County, property taxes is 100% of their general fund. While the assessor's office does not work for any taxing district, we are funded out of the general fund of the county, which is a 3.5% expense to the county. While the assessed values on individual properties is limited to a 3% increase per year, the new or changed properties that are added to the roll, the amount of taxable assessed value that funds taxing districts increases more than 3%. In 2022, the county's value increased 9%, and in 2023, it increased 5%. The city of Roseburg, in a recent budget hearing, anticipated a 6% increase in their property taxes for the next fiscal tax year. Unfortunately, the continued reduction of staff in the assessor's office could translate into a corresponding reduction in revenues for many taxing districts, including the county. There are many unfunded mandates which the assessor's office has to comply with, and with limited staff, we have to prioritize to ensure that we meet what we can, but this may be at the expense of other needs, and all may suffer. Douglas County is one of 5 counties that Oregon Department of Revenue has identified as at risk due to being 60% below staffing guidelines. DOR has indicated that we may lose our CAFA grant due to the most recent budget cuts, which has a financial impact to my budget that is not yet accounted for. In 2018, Department of Revenue conducted a review of the assessor's office at the behest of the prior assessor. The results of this review provided us with an adequacy plan of things that were and are deficient in our office. The report also indicated that in order to meet the statutory requirements, the staffing for my office should be 21.76 FTE. My office was briefly provided FTE, but has seen a 30% reduction in FTE in the last 2 years. However, our workload has not decreased to correlate with the decrease in personnel. Some of the items that we continue to not be able to complete are performing market studies to ensure that our costs are correct. The last study performed by our office was in 2014. Our intent had been to reinstate this next year, but that is now not going to occur as it requires significant staff time to gather data. Reappraisal. There are many areas of the county that have not been reappraised since prior to Measure 50, which is almost 30 years ago. Sales verification. We will no longer be able to verify sales to ensure that we are using good sales and that our ratios are valued and use ratios to value our properties as per ORS 308-233. Exemptions, which includes veterans, is a very heavy administrative program due to various exemptions and requires field verification. New construction. As of this month, there are 944 new construction permits. This number could easily double by the end of the year and is the greatest mechanism for getting revenues to all the taxing districts, as I have previously stated. Finally, customer service will also be impacted, as I will only have one assessment tech for my front office, which means our response time to requests will increase from 24 hours to 3 to 4 days. To address some of these shortfalls, I anticipate closing my office to the public for an additional half of a day, which will allow a dedicated day for my appraisal staff to be able to accomplish the needed fielding that is so desperately needed, but they will not be able to accomplish due to assisting with front office coverage. Therefore, I respectfully request the return of 2 positions, which will allow me to maintain our current office hours while attempting to address all the needed field time for the appraisal staff.
Commissioner Freeman?
So your office is already closed on Fridays, right, to the public?
Correct.
Okay. So you're talking about another half a day?
Correct.
You had mentioned some of the other taxing districts. We talked about this earlier when we did the tax collector's budget. Of the 119, I think is the number you used. I said
Correct.
120, so I was off by one. Those 119 taxing districts, do any of them pay for the cost of your department?
No.
Yeah, that's problematic. And I do appreciate the fact that they all receive a portion of the assessed value that the tax collector collects and distributes. However, historically, they have not been willing to participate in the cost of doing that work. So I would encourage those that feel the need to have, these services restored, to come talk to us about a mechanism to make that happen. With that, I'll move to tentatively approve the budget.
Commissioner Freeman's made the motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Kress has seconded. Any other discussion, comments?
Heather, I'd just add to what Commissioner Freeman said. We spent a lot of time during these budget hearings talking about the state and their requirements and the taxing districts and the work that we do with the tax office and management finance. The system that the state has implemented for you and for all assessors is broken. They have a tremendous amount of workload and requirement of you, but they expect us to pay the bill. And the taxing districts are the chief beneficiaries of that, as you know, and not the county. I did the math earlier today at the chamber meeting when we were talking about this, and the total amount of anticipated tax revenue from property taxes for the county in this budget year makes up 6% of our budget. And to your point, it's a higher percentage of the general fund, but it's 6% of the budget. And I understand it. This isn't personal, it's business, and we have a long way to go. We're taking a small bite of the apple this year, but in order to get the county to operate within the means that we anticipate it going to have available in the next few years, this is just the beginning. So as much as I can appreciate your request, it's not in the cards to add positions back. It just isn't.
I have a question. It looks like you had 20.8 with personnel services of 1,693,000, and you're going to go down to 14, and yet your personnel's 1.627. That's not a very big drop. Do you have that much of a raise in personnel costs?
So in,
To lose 6 positions and have it that close? You sure that math's right?
so it's possible, so the assessor's office staff was significantly underpaid based on the surrounding counties and what appraisal staff. So nobody ever wants to grow up and be an appraiser. And so it's a big surprise. So my office hires people without the skills. We train those people to those skills. But a lot of the counties require them to already have that background, and they hire them. And so because of that, we have always been very low in our pay to our appraisal staff, but yet they have to know a significant amount of statutes and laws because of what dictates our jobs, as well as understanding appraisal theory. So I think it was 2 years ago, I worked with HR and we did a pay analysis study, and we got some reasonably good increases to pay for the staff. So that way I could retain staff, because I was struggling to retain staff.
We did that. I mean, we
Yep.
all did it together.
Yeah,
It was
we,
approved
yeah,
by us.
and so that's why there's been a pretty significant increase in salaries. But
There's also another thing, with all departments,
Vacancies.
not only vacancies and turnover, but we budget a person that is in a position fully paid, fully benefited the whole year. And it rarely works out that way. So it's just like we brought up with the fair before, when there's vacancies in the DA's office. It's really not that big of an increase in actuality. But when we budget that way. It's higher than usually higher than it normally ends up being, so that plays into part of it as well.
Well, they didn't have the cut positions like the fair did though.
No, I know,
Through-
no, I
through
know,
COVID,
but
so, yeah.
Yes.
but vacancies in
Yeah.
general, internal,
You're right.
will create that.
So yeah, in this case, I had 2 vacancies. I was actually in the process of, I just offered one of my jobs to somebody the day before I was notified of the budget cuts. So I have 3 people that are fully being laid off and then 2 vacancies that went unfilled, so.
District attorney sounded like he was gonna be able to take on one of the folks that you're laying off, so.
Yes, yeah, one of the people I recently is going to DA's.
Okay. We do have a motion and a second, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Alright,
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
thanks for being flexible with your time.
Yep, no problem.
Dan?
Hold on.
Oh,
I would like the record to show that I abstained from voting on her budget.
okay. You guys get that? Hi, Dan.
Hello, Chair and members. I appreciate you letting me step in early. Thank you so much.
You don't have anything going on the next day or two, do you?
I was in the middle of sending ballots to other counties, but I'll put that off until after this.
We appreciate your flexibility.
Thank you.
But I know.
It's kinda nice to have the book here.
We're tab 5, it looks like.
So I'm a prior military guy and I like bottom line up front. I was given budget instructions by the tyrant Scott sitting right over here. And you can see by that steely-eyed look that he was, not gonna let me get away with anything beyond that. So status quo and giving back into the general fund for what's the right term for?
Central services.
Central services. I've been able to do that, but I'll explain how miraculous that was as well. 2023, that budget, I came into that budget with 18% less revenues from recordings, which is our bread and butter. This year, I came into this year's budget with over 35% less than my normal level of recordings. So this is my worst year in over like 22 years. And this is, I was really concerned, scared about that coming into this, but fortunately, because of some vacancies in my office, my personnel budget hasn't used up what I thought I was gonna use. And it's gonna be the same case for the coming year. I thought I was gonna go into this with a full house, a full 7 personnel, and I'm entering this year with 4 people. I have 3 vacancies in my office. It hurts a lot. We're trying to do the work of seven people, and plus a lot more down there with 4 people. And so I've had to change my hours for the next few months until I can get more people on hand. My normal hours were 8 to 4:30, open through lunch. I've had to close for lunch because I just couldn't stack lunch to keep that office open. We'll hopefully be hiring soon. I have 4 divisions in my office. Archives, of course, 180 some odd years of history. I don't have any staff actually that work in that division. Recordings division, of course, which is the majority of my staff, that's where they work. And then elections and vital records. Vital records in my department, in this county is different than other counties. We don't have a public health department, and so I handle birth and death records. Because I handle birth records, I don't have to handle passports. You can't have passports and birth records in the same office, and so that's one service I don't have to provide because I provide birth records. I've made some significant security improvements to our elections process because of grants, and I still have about I think about 50 left of the grant. And I'm hoping to possibly change our office to have better security for my frontline staff, and add some windows to prevent people from coming across the counter at my people. We've added the Alertus system. We're just about to hand out the fob so people at the desk can click a panic button if necessary. We've went to key card doors, and increased number of cameras. So thankfully, because of grants, I've been able to continue to improve the department. But in the coming future, I have great hope that the housing market is gonna improve and I will get back to my normal level of revenues. Because like the other departments are talking about, it'll be tough to keep up my personnel budget if I get a full staff with these new pay levels that we had to increase to just attract people in. But thankfully, we've had terrible vacancies, which is gonna cause me to not overdo my personnel budget during this coming year.
Move to tentatively approve the clerk's budget.
Commissioner Boyce made the motion to tentatively approve.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Kress has seconded. Any other comments or questions?
Just,
Commissioner Freeman?
just to note, most of your security concerns are around elections, so that is a national topic and issue that lands, downstairs in the courthouse and at his office. People come in with misinformation and have been told things that are completely false. They come in angry and wanna take it out on Dan and his staff, and it's really too bad. I don't like any of our offices that have to do the glass and this, separate the employees from the public, but I understand why you're needing to have more security in your office, but it's really too bad we're having to do that. You run such a good office.
I've got myself and 2 other employees that have seen some of the worst of it, and we don't have doubts, but to attract new employees that have to work on that front counter with those angry customers, we have to provide them some sense of security.
Thank you for the work you do.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Been a motion.
I'm gonna just make one quick comment. Dan, we take a little bit of heat all the time because of the misinformation and conspiracy theories that are out there around your appointment. But every day that goes by just shows more and more and more evidence that you were absolutely the right choice. So I'm
Grateful.
grateful for you.
Very thankful.
You were the right person to appoint, but more importantly, the citizens of this county chose well when they elected you to do this job.
I'm grateful.
Okay. So motion and a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
You approved your own budget.
All right, thank you, sir.
I'm grateful. Thank you.
Have a good one. Take care. All right, we're gonna call it a day? Yep. Okay. With that, we will adjourn until 9 AM tomorrow morning. Thank you.
8:30.